So you have a vision for where you want to be, but you have no idea how to get there. So instead you find yourself overwhelmed and really wishing for clarity. Don't worry, I got you, because in today's soul-led podcast experience, I'm going to share with you 6 messages about your next best steps. But before we get started, as always, I want you to just breathe into your heart and really hold that path that you know is for you, but maybe you just don't know how to get there. I want you to hold it into your heart and keep it here the entire episode. And I want you to really listen and feel into what messages are for you. See the ones that stand out, make note of them, and really feel into what is for you in today's episode, because the divine has so much to share with you. Let's get into it. I know we would all love a very clear path forward, some sort of strategy, something kind of linear. But here's the thing, guys. If you're listening to this episode, you're moving from that very linear masculine life into more of a heartfelt, really feminine type of way of living. And over here on this side of the world, there's not straight lines, and there's also not these very long strategic paths that we can see. The other thing too is that you're in the middle of an up level. So you are shifting and changing so much every day that even if you were sitting in front of me and if I was doing a reading on you, I wouldn't be able to see too much into the future, because you are shifting your future as we speak. So this isn't really a time about having the most perfect strategy for the next year or for the next 5 years. It's more about visioning, seeing where you're going, understanding that that is true, but not getting stuck in this overwhelm of needing to know the whole path. I say this over and over again. I really see this as our yellow brick road. It's like we're on our way somewhere. There's this yellow brick road to where we're going, but we're only really given one brick at a time, and we have to follow one brick at a time. So today I really want to talk about what your next best steps are, right? It doesn't mean that it is the whole plan and that we can see every single step, but there are a few steps in front of you that are the best steps for you. And there's a vibration to them. There's a signature energy to them that I want to share with you so that you can sit here and know that step that's been coming forward for me, or that message or that intuitive download I've been getting sounds just like the energy of what Nikki is sharing. So I hope that this really moves you forward, gives you the confidence to take action on the next few things that are in front of you, and just know that you're onto something. You are truly onto something. You are on the right path, but we can't just stay here overlooking the waterfall. It's I remember when I was probably in college, we were visiting Puerto Rico and a friend of ours lived there. And there was this really cool waterfall, and everybody was jumping off the waterfall. And I just stood there looking over the waterfall. Everybody was on the bottom. Everybody had already made that jump. And I stood on top of that waterfall for literally probably 30 minutes or 45 minutes while everybody had done 7 jumps before the time I could actually do my first, which is cool, which is fine. Everybody needs their own time, but it did take me a while to jump. And I feel a lot of us are in that space that we see where we want to go. There might even be people swimming in the beautiful water where we want to be, but we just can't get ourselves to jump, and we just keep staring over that waterfall. So I'm hoping that this at least gives you the next step to at least start that jump. Maybe it gives you the step to be in midair, right? And helps you land exactly where you know you're meant to be. First message I was getting was believe. I know how silly that sounds. Believe in yourself. Yes, all the cheesy stuff, all the very basic stuff. But this felt to me you gotta believe the messages you're getting. You have to believe the pull you are feeling. A funny one too was believe the people that are speaking into you. So you might have some friends, or maybe you have a coach, or maybe it's even just somebody you're watching online who you don't know, but they're really speaking into you. Maybe I'm that person for you. That would be my honor. You got to believe them. This is really the divine can't come and become human form and speak into your ear. It can only, work its magic through other people and, through Instagram signs and through, the sign of a red bird showing up to you. That's the best way it can actually be with you. It's not, the voice of Mufasa, coming and sitting with you and giving you all the answers. So this is the next best thing that the divine can give you. All these messengers that are coming your way, all these signs, all these messages, believe it. And then of course, believe in yourself. And because this path and kind of where you're headed it doesn't really feel different from you. It feels like an expansion of you. It feels like it's who you truly are, but have not been able to. Like the world has not let you be that big, be that expansive yet. And now is your shot. Like you're getting to this place that you're like, F it. Like I'm just going to go for it. And the world is opening up for you. So this isn't really like believe in yourself, like you can do it. It's more like a coming home. Like just be who you truly are, express who you truly are, expand in the way that is true to who you are. So it's more of an expansion, kind of like opening up my heart and my arms and walking towards. And that's something that you're meant to believe in that this is always who I've been. This has always been my destiny. This has always been what I'm meant to be and who I'm meant to be. And I'm going to believe in that. You have nothing to lose to believe in that. You really don't. I mean, what is the word? Like, how is it ever bad to believe in yourself, you know? So really, really to take that opportunity to accept the gifts of inspiration and the messages and the people that are coming into your life to really speak into you and help move you there. And these kind of speaking into you and this believe in yourself type of thing may even come with, again, some next best steps. So like, oh, call this person or book this session or open this, website on blah, blah, blah. Like it feels like these messengers may even come with a next best step, and it is okay and it is safe to believe in them and to believe in the power of where you're going. Message number 2. The next best step, and this has been a theme for a while, but the next best step has to do with moving yourself into the right communities. I cannot stress this enough. You guys, you cannot waste one more day being in communities that are, man, for lack of a better word, below you, honestly. Like that they are not vibing at where you're vibing, Funny story. My husband and I were in the Fontainebleau in Miami Beach a few years ago. Actually, the weekend that we found the land here in North Carolina, we were staying at the Fontainebleau before we flew out. And we were like, it was like 6 a.m. We were getting ready to catch our flight. So we were leaving the hotel, and these like 2 guys that obviously had been partying all night were out by the pool, and we were just like kind of looking over the balcony, and we see these guys kind of like arguing, just like they're obviously best friends, but they were like fighting. And one guy's like, you just kept hanging out with those people and like, they just were like vibing. You think you're vibing, but you're not. And it was like, you could tell this like one friend was like, dude, those people you were hanging out with, like, it's just like, we're not the vibe. And I just like, Penny and I always bring that up because it's just like the guy thought he was so cool saying what he was saying, but it was pretty accurate. He's like trying to tell his friend, like, listen, like, that's just not the vibe. And I'm getting that sense here that some of times the reason you can't see the next step is because you're hanging around a group of people, or you might even be like comparing yourself, or not even comparing yourself, but almost like feeling safe around a group of people. I'm not saying that these people are bad. I'm just saying that they are not letting you see what is beyond. It's almost like they're so cozy that you can't see the next step, because hanging out with them is like this warm cup of soup that, why would you ever want to leave, right? Like if my mom keeps feeding me and making me delicious food, like why would I ever want to leave? It's very cozy and comfortable here. But this next community, because I see you moving into another community, and not that we're leaving this community. I really just feel like you're opening up your circle. You're expanding beyond this community. That next community really wants to show you the way, or I don't even see them necessarily like giving you the next steps, but it makes me feel like you're inspired by what they're doing. You're like, oh, this person has their own business and they're doing this, and they did it like this. That's so interesting. Like I want to do it like that. So this next best step cannot really be seen within a cozy, comfortable, or toxic, right? Like I'm open to the idea that your cozy, comfortable might be a little toxic. It might be a community you may have to leave altogether, but you have to move into the next expanded community because they're the ones that have the next best step for you. Message number 3. There is a fire, a frustration, a annoyance in you that is trying to guide you to the next best step. So I almost feel like you want to push this down, and you may also be like, why am I feeling this? Or you think that feeling this is like bringing you into lower vibrations, let's say, because you might have this idea that like high vibration is supposed to be like peace, love, and clarity. But this annoyance can very much be the next step from like not believing in myself, like not being confident, to being like, oh my God, these people are so annoying. Like I can do that, and I could do that 10 times better. Like this is so ridiculous. And that frustration is actually a higher vibration than where you just were. So if you're feeling this frustration, this annoyance, it might even kind of mask itself as jealousy, but it's kind of the flip of not the flip of jealousy, but it's almost like the elevated feeling of jealousy. Like, I cannot believe this person has that. Like, I really want that. This person's not even that smart. I could do so much better. And that, there's a little mix of jealousy, but it's also kind of feeling confident and knowing that you can do this. So this fire, even though it might come packaged in weird emotions like annoyance, frustration, all that, is actually the fire that moves you forward. So it has the next step in it. It's like the next step is wrapped in the fire. But if you don't embrace the fire as a gift, you may miss the next best step. So let yourself feel those feelings, call them up, call them forward, bring it forward. Fire is, passion. And there is passion within that. And you might just express it in that kind of, dark vibe, like that cool villain or that cool character in the movie that is like, she's not the blonde, like she's goth and she wears dark hair, but she has dark hair, but she's super cool, right? She has like swagger. Like you just might express it that way. And that is amazing. Like that's true to who you are. That's your filter. But don't hide. Don't try to be like the love and light if that is not how it comes through for you. So my sense is you might be missing the next best step because it's coming from a different form. It's coming from a different kind of Kali vibes. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with the goddess Kali, and if this message is calling you, definitely look her up. And it's like dark goddess vibes, basically. So there is a message in that. There's a burn in there. It's pointing you to the idea that you don't have to work so hard. So that's funny. Like this fire and this frustration and this annoyance is like, seriously? Like, did she just do it like that? Did she just like wrap it up and put it out there? Did she write with no capitals? And like, I'm trying to write the most perfect memoir. That is actually pointing you into this idea that like somehow your confidence has been low because you thought you needed to earn it. So again, you're over the waterfall, like not taking a step forward because you're like, oh, I got to work so hard to do this. I got to earn this. I got to make it perfect. I have to have everything together before I do it. And there may be this feeling of like looking at other people and realizing like theirs is not even that great. And really what that's trying to tell you is you don't need to earn it. Like you have everything that you need inside of yourself to take that step. There are so many people making a ton of money, growing their businesses, growing their audience, where their setup is not perfect. They just have a swagger. They have an acceptance to who they are and to what they have to offer, and people come to them for that, right? I mean, as simple as if you look at, my daughter's 19 and the stuff she's watching on TikTok, and that TikTok girl or, Instagram girl, whatever, might have a bunch of followers, and she's literally talking on her phone, right? There's no editing, there's nothing magic. And then maybe you go to my business and it's like, it's filmed on this camera and the editing is done this way. And it's like, there's a lot of effort putting into these things, but this girl's getting 1 million a pop, right? And I'm like, I'm hustling to get my 2,000 views or whatever. So it's just that annoyance is really what it's trying to tell you is, yeah, she has something that you don't. And what she has is this full acceptance of her gifts, her talents are enough. Like, this is good. This is enough. And I think people are going to like it. And sure, her audience might be a little different of an audience, you know what I mean? But it is still, she's still moving. So I want you to pay attention to that frustration. Don't be afraid of it. There's a message within there, and it's really trying to tell you that you do not need to work any harder to do what you want to do. That you have it. You're good. There's many different forms of how people do it, and you don't need to put more effort or try to earn it. So look out for that fire. Message number 4. Another reason why you might be missing the next steps, and maybe not like super clear on what they are, is because there's a money investment or a time investment involved. So it almost looks like I have to pay to play. There's some information that I don't have. There is like a gap of knowledge that I don't have, that I'm gonna have to pay somebody who is outside of my circle, who is not, somebody I know, to help me get there. That could also be I need to pay for somebody that can do this work for me, or I have to go to a trainer. I can't train at my house. I actually have to pay somebody to train me. And then I felt like it wasn't just money. It also looked like it was time as well. So it might have to be that I have to maybe miss my son's, baseball game every other Saturday so I can stay home and write. So there might be some sort of trade-off. And without accepting that trade-off, it looks like you're missing the next step. Like the next step is like in this understanding that there is an investment. I was wondering why you were afraid of the investment, or why you think you can go around the investment. And I really was getting that you're just used to doing so much by yourself. Like you're just used to being the smartest person in the room. You're used to being super self-sufficient. Maybe you're an only child, or maybe you're the first child, or maybe you were the child that just like had it together and your parents never came in and helped because they're like, oh, this one can figure it out. And that's just not going to get you where you're trying to go. You need help. You need to pay for help. There are people that know exactly what to do next. Like that's the funny thing, that I'm seeing that on the other side of the investment, there is somebody that's like, oh, I literally do this every day. And you're like, man, I've been watching every YouTube video. I've been, reading every single book. And the person's like, yeah. Like, no, like, I can do this for you in 5 minutes. I was actually listening to this podcast episode the other day on the Him and Hers podcast. And they interviewed this woman who has like a wealth management company, I think it is. But it was pretty digital, and it looked like they took all types of clients, like not just like high wealth. And she said something like that. Like when he was interviewing her, he was like, oh, I read all the books. I got super into it. I studied a bunch, and that's how I figured out how to like manage my money and all this stuff. And she's like, yeah, look, that's totally one way. Like the person he was interviewing, she's like, that's definitely a way to do it. She's like, but your time is money. So how long did it take you? If it took you 4 years to figure out your money, but you could call somebody who does that every day and can figure that out for you and set you up on a system in 4 months, you just lost 4 years of not, earning on top of the money that you already have. And I was like, damn. So I know that sometimes it's fun to learn on your own and study on your own and try to like find the pieces of the puzzle, but there's no shame in somebody giving you the whole puzzle done. Because it's a shortcut to where you're going, and also there is going to be plenty of things that you're going to have to do on your own anyways, as where you're going. So it's okay to make that investment, ask for that help, get whatever shortcut you need to be able to get to the other side. And this idea of being the oldest daughter in the family who gets everything done, that's cool. I'll give you a gold star for that. Like, whatever. It's like, that's awesome. That's great that it's been part of your identity. It's not really getting you where you're trying to go. Okay? And it's not going to help you with the next step. So I send you my gold star. I'll give myself a gold star as well, but let's move on past that. Message number 5. You may be a little bit clear on what the next step is for you, and you may be like getting ready to take it. But I do want to caution you to think about perhaps shifting your identity before you take that step. And here's what I mean. If I take a step now and I call myself a stay-at-home mom, let's say, and I'm going to make this step of starting a blog. I may make that blog maybe too mommy oriented because I'm calling myself a stay-at-home mom. But if I expanded myself and said, you know what, I'm not gonna like identify as a stay-at-home mom in this case. I'm gonna identify as a creative, as a writer, as a person who loves to write. If I identify that way, as I start to maybe set up that blog or set up, whatever it is that I'm about to venture off into, it may really shift how I create it. It will shift how I create it. And I'm just getting this vibe, this feeling that you may be like, yeah, no, this is obviously the next step. I'm going to start a membership. I'm going to open a brick and mortar. I'm going to, do this thing. But check in on what identity is creating that. And is that identity big enough for where you want to go? So for example, if I say, I'm an intuitive. If I keep calling myself that, I may just be stuck doing a bunch of readings. Maybe I'll never write a book, or I'll never start a YouTube channel because I just keep calling myself an intuitive, and there's just certain things that come with being an intuitive. Like, this is the little box that I exist in. So this next best step is actually going to come from a shift in your identity, an expansion into your identity. And I feel like it is specifically in your work. So if you're like, oh, I'm a doctor, but you're dreaming of writing a novel, it's going to be hard. So to maybe just kind of pedal back a little bit and be like, I'm an avid reader. I love to write. I'm a, romance novel like junkie. I'm obsessed with that. And kind of write that book or start that project with that identity rather than the doctor identity. And almost like, I had somebody, funny enough, like applying to do coaching with me recently, and in their application, she expressed and explained herself as like, this is who I am. And then she's like, oh, and my side hustle is this. I do this during the day. And she was actually calling her side hustle it was her 9 to 5, but she was calling it a side hustle. And she was really leaning into who she saw herself as. I thought that was so interesting. I was like, man, badass. Like, she switched her identity already, even though she wasn't that. She wasn't working full time as this new thing, which she wanted, but she had put this identity that she's been living in forever, this 9 to 5. I forget exactly what she did, but she was kind of putting that off to the side and being like, yeah, this is a part of me, but this is like secondary, and I am currently expanding out of that. So I'm going to start to call myself this, and I'm going to start to see myself this way and create from that place. So I'm getting that for you. Like, whatever it is that you want to create, if you're struggling to take the next step, pay attention to how you identify. What are you calling yourself? And if you're staring over that waterfall and you can't leap, is it because you haven't told yourself, I'm an amazing swimmer, I'm super adventurous, I always do big jumps, like I'm a big risk taker or whatever? Those identities are going to help you make that jump. So giving yourself the right identity for where you're trying to go, so you can create something that is true to the new identity, not to the old identity, which ends up being more of a imposter syndrome, fake it till you make it type setup, because the doctor is writing a romance novel. Of course, I would have imposter syndrome if I was a doctor writing a romance novel. But if I was a reader who loved to read and who loved to writing a romance novel, there will be much less imposter syndrome, or much less feeling of I'm faking it until I make it. And finally, message number 6. The thing that you're putting out, the next step that you're going to take, very much has the energy of, this is me. This is who I am. It's very honest. It is the opposite of people pleasing. It is an embracing a kind of a F it type feeling of like, you know what, I'm not going to try to be anything that I'm not anymore. Like, this is who I am. I accept this. I'm not going to try to put the clothes that the other girl that's wearing, or I'm not going to, fix my hair this way or do that. Like, this is who I am, and this is what I have to offer. This is my level of creativity right now. I'm not starting a pottery business and pretending I'm a 30-year deep, pottery business. I'm a first year pottery business, and I accept that. It's a very feeling of a groundingness into this moment, because remember, we started the conversation with, there's this vision, like you're on the yellow brick road, you know where you're going, what you want, you see the vision. But if that vision, let's say, is step 100 and you're currently at step 1, part of the reason why we never even start taking steps is because we keep floating over 100. We think about it, we're floating over it, but we can't get our feet on the ground to 100 because there's a bunch of steps from 1 to 100. And in this message, when you say, like, this is who I am, this is where I'm at, this is it, you actually ground and put your feet on the ground. You step into stage 1, phase 1. You accept that, you accept who you are. And from there, you start to actually manifest, because we can't manifest from thinking about things in our head. We can only create from doing and from being. That's part of being the human, right? Like, the soul can dream up things and, have all these visions and all that stuff. And it's super cool. I'll give you all the guided meditations to visualize and, get the messages and stuff. But your energy has to be in your body, like really, really sitting there. It has to accept this present moment. This is where I am. This is who I am. And from that place is actually where we manifest and create things. So there's something here about, like, the next step will come as we ground into our bodies, like we are here, and there's a level of acceptance. And it's a lot of acceptance. It's this acceptance of, I'm blonde, I'm not brunette, let's say, but it's also an acceptance of, I'm at phase 1, like, this is the amount of business I have, this is the amount of money I have, this is how old I am, right? I'm 42, like, I can't change that. That is who I am. Like, I grew up in this house, I grew up with this family, like, I live currently where I live. Like, to really accept where I am and accept, like, who I am, and not try to change anything, because my sense is that your next steps are an expression of who you are. And if we're struggling to accept who we are, of course we can't make a expression that's true to us. So there's, like, this real like acceptance of who I am, and that becomes my true expression. Where people pleasing, for example, is outside of me. It's like, I am not in my body. I'm not accepting who I am. I'm trying to go outside, make other people happy, make products for other people, write things for other people, create for other people, take these jobs for other people, and not really consult with myself. And so if I'm people pleasing and I'm kind of, like, outside of myself, and that happens to business owners, right? Like, you're just trying to make your customer happy. Sometimes you're making things that you think that they would want. But what happens is that if you're in that place, like, you're out of your body and you're into, like, trying to make these other people happy, you will get a lot of steps. You will get next steps as to what you need to take. But at some point, they're not going to be sustainable, and you're going to kind of keep jumping out of those steps and starting all over again, or trying to pivot, because you're making things for other people rather than being true to who you are and accepting, like, what is your limitations, what are you good at, what are you not good at, that kind of stuff. So we have to come back towards ourselves and make what we're going to make, or take the steps from here. Because if we go outside of ourselves, we're going to get very logical steps. We'll probably get, I'm sure, a lot of linear strategy steps for sure. Like, oh, this is how other people did it. That's how she did it. So I'm going to follow exactly those steps or whatever. But then at some point we realize that those steps aren't, like, fully true to us. And then this thing that I just started does not feel like I can keep it going. It feels like it doesn't feel sustainable. I can't keep on with this. So the message here is, try your best to come into your body, really accept who you are, accept where you're at, ground into this moment, whatever the challenges and the possibilities of this moment, right? Because everybody in your present moment, we all have challenges and opportunities. Like, my challenges might be, I have 3 children. My opportunities might be, there's a lot of people who want to work with me, right? So those are the realities of my current situation. And I have to accept that and then move forward from here. Not move forward from where I wish I was. I wish I didn't have 3 kids. I wish that like I didn't have to make money. Like I can't make it from outside of me. I can't make the next steps from outside of me. I have to make them from here. And also I can't make them outside of me because I'm trying to make others happy. I have to make it from my own vessel, from my own center and in this moment. I was really trying to give you guys the energy of that, guys. Hopefully you got it. Okay, those are our 6 messages. I'm really excited to see you take action. If you do get inspired by this episode and you do end up taking a next best step, I would love to hear from you. Send me a DM, shout me out on Instagram and tag me, leave a review on the podcast, whatever you can do. I'd love to see what movement you're making. And I can't wait to see what the next best step is for you. Sending you so much love. You got this, and I'll see you in the next episode.